So what if the AI you use every day is learning from a secret source, a source with a pretty controversial agenda? Today we are digging into a hidden connection between two of the biggest names in tech and what it means for the information you get.
Just imagine this for a second. You ask your favorite AI a question, and it spits back an answer from a source you have never, ever heard of. And it turns out that source has a very specific point of view. Well, you know what? That's not a what if anymore. It's actually happening.
Yep, that's right. Journalists just found out that information from Grokipedia, that's the AI-generated encyclopedia from Elon Musk's company, XAI, is popping up in ChatGPT's answers. This is a huge deal, and it forces us to ask a really important question. Where are our AIs getting their facts, and how much can we really trust them?
So how did anyone even figure this out?
Well, this strange connection came to light because of some really sharp investigative journalism that kind of pulled back the curtain on how these AIs learn. It all started when reporters at The Guardian were testing out the latest version of ChatGPT, and they noticed something weird. The AI was citing a source in its answers that they didn't recognize, a source called Grokipedia. And that right there set off some major alarm bells.
So, okay, this leads to the obvious question, right? What on earth is Grokipedia, and why was it even created in the first place? Okay, so Grokipedia is a project from XAI that was just launched last October. It's an encyclopedia generated entirely by AI, and it was created, very intentionally, to be a conservative-leaning alternative to other big online information sources. And the whole reason it exists is that Musk had been very publicly complaining that Wikipedia, the internet's encyclopedia, had a serious left-leaning bias. So Grokipedia was supposed to be the answer to that problem. But here's the thing. In trying to create a neutral alternative, did Grokipedia actually pull it off? Or did it just swap one set of problems for another? Maybe even more troubling set of issues. Well, when reporters started digging into what Grokipedia actually said, they found some deeply disturbing stuff. The encyclopedia had these baseless claims linking porn to the AIDS crisis, parts that tried to justify slavery, and it used offensive language to talk about transgender people. And, to top it all off, a lot of the less controversial articles, they were just copied and pasted straight from Wikipedia.
And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the stated mission, to fight bias. But on the other hand, what actually got produced was content that was filled with brand new and, you could argue, much more dangerous inaccuracies and ideological slants.
And here's where it gets really important. This controversial information isn't just staying locked up inside Grokipedia. Nope. It's now leaking out into the very AI tools that millions of us are using every single day. During their investigation, The Guardian threw a bunch of different questions at ChatGPT and found it directly citing Grokipedia a total of 9 times. So this wasn't some random one-off glitch, it was a clear and consistent pattern. And check this out, this is the really sneaky part. ChatGPT didn't seem to be citing Grokipedia for those big, controversial topics where its bad information was already known, like its claims about AIDS. No, instead it was surfacing the stuff for more obscure topics where you, the user, would be way less likely to notice something was wrong.
And by the way, this isn't just an OpenAI problem. The report also pointed out that Anthropic's AI, Claude, seems to be pulling from Grokipedia too. This suggests a much bigger, more systemic issue with how these giant AI models are just scraping up everything on the public internet.
So, what does this all add up to? Well, it pulls us into a much larger conversation about AI, about information, and really about what we can actually trust in this digital world.
When OpenAI was asked about this, their spokesperson gave a pretty standard answer. Saying their goal is to train their models on a wide range of public sources to get a diversity of viewpoints. But as we've just seen, that approach, well, it can be pretty risky.
This whole situation really hammers home a critical reality about AI today. These models are basically drinking from the internet's fire hose, and it's incredibly hard to filter out the unreliable or just plain bad sources from all that data. At the end of the day, the answers we get from these powerful tools are only as good as the information they were trained on. And that leaves us with this final, really critical question. As we start relying on AI more and more to explain the world to us, who's in charge of its library? When an AI is learning from the entirety of human knowledge and all of its nonsense on the internet, who gets to be the editor? And maybe more importantly, can we trust their choices?